What's a modern trend that people will regret in 10 years? Story 1. Oversized lips and micro sunglasses. Everyone's going to look back and wonder why they all dressed like Sims in a heat wave. Answer. I think long-term aesthetic preferences will always return to the mean of natural body shape. I think it's impossible to actually reach escape velocity into a world where aesthetic surgery is truly held as the norm. Sunglasses, though, that's just trends. Wait 15 years and they'll be back again. The only real fashion trend is the fashion that wasn't in style last week. Go digging through your mom's old scrapbooks for something unique, and you're right back into the cycle. Story 2. The loss of ownership. Everything is streaming, subscription-based, always online, etc. But these things are brittle. Once the company goes down, decides to stop providing the thing you want, or you simply can't afford it anymore, then you're left with nothing. Don't get me wrong, there's a place for a Spotify, a Netflix, a Game Pass. Being able to access a large library for a monthly fee had its benefits as well. But for the things we really love, I hope we'll understand the value of ownership before we learn the bitter lessons. Personally, I tend to buy albums in CD or vinyl, but for movies and games, we're still a bit screwed. Steam is also a service, technically speaking. I don't own any game in my library permanently. And movies and series are even more fudge. Recently, I bought some Blu-ray discs, thinking that would be useful, but the DRM on those makes piracy the favorable option. To watch these Blu-rays that I bought with my own money on my PC, I basically have to copy-paste some supposedly cracked keys into a config file. Answer. Don't sleep on your public library. They have physical media, books, Blu-rays, DVDs, video games, and CDs that you can check out, among so many other awesome things. Fun fact, my late 80-something grandfather used to borrow DVDs and copy them before returning them to the library. I don't recommend this, but I admired his resourcefulness. He also used a VPN to change his location so that he could stream his favorite EPL games for free. Sharp as a tack. Story 3. No buttons or dials in cars. Also counting haptic capacitive buttons. Not everything has to be on a screen, especially the most important functions to operate a vehicle. Here's a test. Let's say someone rents a car from the airport. Are they able to get up and running in a matter of minutes instead of having to browse multiple pages of menus in a laggy, unresponsive screen? If not, we're evolving backwards. Story 4. Profusely using generative AI, which will not just discourage content creation, but also key thinking abilities. It might be like going everywhere by car and then realizing that walking now hurts and you're overweight just for your brain. Story 5. Attempting to viscerally reject being cringe. Don't do this to yourself. You're allowed to be awkward and make mistakes and fudge up. I do agree with wishing that nothing embarrassing you did as a kid could be preserved on social media forever, though. Edit of shock after going away for a day. Oh God. Hi Reddit. Thank you for upvotes. You're awesome. Story 6. Cosmetic procedures at a young age, 1825. Fillers, fox face, TikTok cheekbones. All of this is done en masse even before the appearance of age-related changes. Why, you'll regret it. Many faces have already lost their natural facial expressions. Over the years, this requires constant repairs or causes deformation. Answer. Nearly all of these people would be better off spending this money on therapy to examine why they feel the need to get these procedures. They would likely come out happier, more secure people and realize they really never need them. Feel bad for these people, but also kind of angry at them because they feed and perpetuate this whole toxic culture and fudge all the ghouls getting rich off of these people's insecurities. Same as it ever was. Story 7. posting about almost every aspect of your life on social media. I posted some pretty cringe shoot as a kid that is still floating around somewhere, and that was before social media became big. I can't imagine what it's going to be like now. Answer: I have a 16-year-old, and throughout her life we have reiterated that one thing she will appreciate in the future is not having a long-tailed internet presence going back into her teens. She is selective in who she engages with, apps she uses, comments she makes, and I hope she keeps it that way. I used to think that it would likely become yet another class distinction, but even that horse has probably bolted. I guess rich people can pay to tidy a messy internet history up, whereas working and middle-class Olivias and Jacobs will have to live with their hairy bits and dumb opinions. Searchable by their future bosses in 2042. Story 8. Buying a great cozy historic home with beautiful wood trim and floors, or even wainscoting or shelves, etc., then tearing down walls and such to open it up and paint the lovely 100-plus-year-old wood. Painting it white and gray. If you want a contemporary house, buy one. Don't ruin a gorgeous home. Answer: this hurt to read. Our neighbors did this to their houses. Our neighborhood is early 1900s, and it just looks so bad. For example, one had glass doorknobs with flower patterns blown into the glass. They took all those out and replaced them with contemporary door handles that look like a thin line. The other had a beautiful gray-purple pearlescent mother of pearl hexagon mini tiles in their bathroom. Absolutely stunning tile work with an iron clawfoot tub, original sink, and stall shower. They gutted the entire bathroom to turn it into some disgusting grayish Home Depot display. Story 9. Letting students move on to the next grade without, e.g., the ability to read and other hallmarks of an education. Story 10. LLMs like ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, etc. There are already studies that they make their users dumber. On a side note, it is already dumb that everyone calls them AI. They are not AI, just more sophisticated chatbots with a broader data set. Story 11. Making everything in their whole fudge house white. Cabinets, counters, walls, ceilings, flooring, tiles, etc. Answer: but the post said something people will regret. Why will they regret it? It's just an interior design. Walls and cabinets can be repainted. Ceilings are almost always white. White floors can be broken up with colorful rugs, and white counters has been a thing for years. And people redo their interior all the time. People like what they like and then change it when they don't. That's not really a regret, just a change in style taste. Story 12. AI dependency. Even with a lower birth rate, I don't think the job market will balance out from the job losses. There are no talks about UBI because idiots think it's socialism, and people dislike that, even though socialism can be whatever the hell we want it to be. Story 13. Turning our entire lives into content. In 10 years, a lot of people might look back and realize they were so busy performing for the internet that they forgot to actually live the moments that mattered. Story 14. People don't realize how much of their style gives them away as overconsumers. Retrospective embarrassment won't be like 80s shoulder pads, or 90s trench coats, or 2016 eyebrows. It's going to be in the lack of utility in the clothing worn. Disposable clothing. Not cheap, but too specific. Story 15. That there is an app for everything. That's gotta die at some point, right? An app to order food from a drive-thru. An app to pay my bill at a restaurant when I have a server. A QR code to a rewards app at the gas station. Everything having rewards that doesn't actually save you anything unless you spend way too much. and then all you get is a free drink. An app to have someone drive to your house to deliver food from a drive-thru when you have a car for an extra 10. Like, what are we doing? Story 16. Filler. Botox. I don't think people will regret it wears off. But filler? It will just migrate. No. Also, overconsumption, Shane Halls, and all that bullshit waste. Story 17. I'm seeing a lot of young lads with mullet haircuts again. Can't see those aging any better this time around than they did in the past. Story 18. Using tablets and phones to babysit their kids. The numerous studies that show how badly it affects developing brains and central nervous systems and causes changes in behavior, attention, and processing. That's completely aside from any bad content they may be viewing or exposed to. That's a whole other shoot show. Story 19. Chasing constant online validation is one trend I think a lot of people will regret, especially when they realize how much time and energy they spent performing instead of actually living. Story 20. Not boycotting pro-Israel companies and supporting AIPAC-funded politicians, while Israel commits a genocide and their leader is wanted for arrest by the ICJ. Story 21. Not getting enough exercise and overeating. It's so incredibly harmful to be sedentary and overweight. Story 22. Lip and cheek filler. We have now learned that filler never fully dissolves, and celebrities like Kylie Jenner, who have gone so overboard with it, are looking droopy from stretching their skin, so much injecting it in there. I'm expecting a lot more botched faces as a result of this trend, and people looking back in horror. Story 23. Putting so much faith in ChatGPT and wider AI in general. In particular, though, I genuinely believe ChatGPT is dangerous and largely unhelpful. I think it will destroy relationships, feed delusion, and also waste a lot of people's valuable time and effort by feeding them incorrect information. Have spent hours on it, testing it out, and found around 60 of factual information was incorrect but so confidently elaborated upon that you'd believe it to be incredibly useful. The way it seems to ensure it is eternally so empathetic towards whoever is interacting with it largely seems to make it agreeable, even when it shouldn't be. I've already lost one relationship over this. A friend who uses it to think for him now in almost every single way. He suddenly avoids verbal interactions and prefers text so that he can feed your texts into ChatGPT and then copy and paste the responses he's given. He uses it to prove his point, or try to, every time someone contradicts him in any way, and, most heinous of all, is undoubtedly and repeatedly using it to manipulate situations and people. He treats it and talks about it as though it understands him. He wasn't the most stable bloke to begin with, but seems the worst thing he could have found. An echo chamber full of artificial empathy and bad advice. Story 24. Everyone who uses LLMs or AI to assist their job. Best case scenario is that you are training the machine that will do your job better than you and push you out of your industry. Story 25. OnlyFans or putting private pictures on social media like Reddit. Once something's on the internet, it's there forever. When you get older and have kids and they accidentally come across their mom's bumhole on the internet. Story 26. Social media addictions and obsession with fandoms. A lot of people are rotting their brains and wasting their teens and 20s worrying about how many likes their pictures are getting and crying over relationships between fictional characters. I can't express how much these things just do not matter, how little impact they actually will have on your life, and how you're resting part, or all, of your mental and emotional well-being on outside sources that you have absolutely zero control over. Story 27. The beauty trend to get bad plastic surgery injections. Their face is going to give out sooner rather than later. Story 28. Wake up really early and have less than 8 hours of sleep. No sleep eliminate you. We need that 7.300 to 8 hours of sleep every day. Story 29. Fillers or Botox to prevent wrinkles. There's already women who are suffering from facial problems with not being able to smile or be emotionally expressive due to overusing fillers Botox. Story 30. Botox before 40. Botox, made with the same toxins from botulism, is a paralyzing agent. Nothing more, nothing less. It doesn't fill in stuff, doesn't make exists lines go away. Its purpose is to stop your muscles from moving so the wrinkles aren't visible, but basically if they are visible when your face is relaxed, Botox won't do anything. Thing is, when you paralyze a muscle for months at a time, it obviously atrophies. This causes the muscle to become thinner, and in cases of prolonged disuse, to start to drop and/or sink. If you're 40, that's acceptable, because that's already happening. Naturally, with age. If you're 27, though, you end up like Kylie Jenner, whose forehead muscles are so paper-thin you can see the veins clear as day. And all it's done for her is give her a resting meanie face. Like, literally, there were no wrinkles there. It just keeps her from raising her eyebrows. Fillers are also a different thing. People think it just dissolves, but it doesn't. It flattens, it migrates. And don't even let me get started with people getting facelifts at 25. It should be illegal to market medical products and procedures for anything but their intended purpose. Baby Botox was literally made up by marketers. It has no medical basis. Story 31. Bringing your children to the local brewery seems to be a trend where I live. Horrific messaging and modeling. Story 32. Harassing, imprisoning, and deporting dissidents and legal immigrants. Brain drain was already a severe result of the first Trump term. Story 33. Investing in AI. They're all just LLMs and will be free and open source. Being right-wing freaks will also fall out of favor, but not after an economic battle. Story 34. Being anti-people in real life and trying to look famous and trendy on social media. Soon all human interaction will be damaged and we will be the ones who will lose. Story 35. Hopefully, lip fillers, Botox, and other cosmetic surgeries that are so unnecessary and only make young girls look old and old women look fake. And then the health risks that cosmetic surgeons completely lie about. Silicone implants start sweating from the first day you have them, and fillers have already been proven to be dangerous too. And Botox? Doesn't matter how small the quantity is, it's literally toxic, and plastic surgeons will always tell you it's safe, because how else would they earn money if they're honest? But then again, even with knowledge becoming public, certain women have always been willing to ruin their own health and even risk their lives for beauty standards. See how long lead powder has been the fashion, for example. If implants and injecting stuff in your body becomes out of fashion, another dangerous beauty trend will take over. Why learn from history, right? Story 36. Using streaming services to buy a movie. When those services go out of business or otherwise remove the movie you paid for, maybe you'll get back to physical media. Story 37. Ozempic. You know that in 10 years all these unexpected problems will show up. Then a few decades later they'll find out the substances companies knew all about it. Story 38. Giving influencers views. Most of them don't have a crap about their audience, always promote shoot they never use themselves, and are money-hungry just like celebrities. Not to mention the unfairness of why a person with a camera gets paid so much for contributing nothing towards society. while many who do are underpaid and undervalued. Story 39. The carnivore diet. I know many people that have been on it that tried to tell me that there have been no serious side effects of the diet recorded, as if consuming 2 large steaks for every meal isn't hard on your arteries. Story 40. Being full of dislike for people cause they think, talk, and make decisions differently than you. Dislike changes you and your relationships. Being indifferent doesn't. Story 41. Not having an awkward phase at 12 and going straight to looking and dressing like an adult. It may look nice, but I feel like developmentally, that's the phase kids are supposed to find themselves, but now they're becoming Sephora-fed internet kids. Story 42. Posting every waking minute of their kids' antics to social media. Some kids will become open books that have no concept of boundaries, or cynics who can't trust anyone with a secret. What you post when they are 8, they will see when they are 18 and know it was online for 10 years. If they don't like what you thought was cute or funny behavior, they might find a detestable invasion of privacy. They will only have you to blame. Story 43. Taking treatment for the finest jawlines. I don't understand why can't people accept themselves that they are beautiful as they are. Story 44. Vaping. It's not the safe alternative to smoking people thought. Turns out heating metal and inhaling it can lead to you inhaling some of those metals. Story 45. Asking AI for answers to everything and using it for communication. Basically, going forward, people are using computers to read and speak and think for them. What could go wrong? Story 46. One eye on the pillow, the other on your phone well into the late night hours. Not only will your eyes be shoot, but you'll look back and feel like you did nothing at all. Story 47. Vaping. Surely there's no way inhaling heated air into your lungs and burning them is really any better than the past method of smoking. Story 48. Hopefully, over-consuming makeup. Up to a few years ago, influencers and social media really cultivated this idea that it's normal to have this humongous collection of makeup with dozens of eyeshadow palettes, blushes, lipsticks, etc. I feel like more and more people are realizing it all goes bad before you use it up, and it's just overconsumption. People have been scaling back more and more. Story 49. Ozempic for vanity reasons. Studies have shown that people who take Ozempic or similar substances have muscle loss of up to 25. A prolonged period would absolutely destroy someone's muscle mass and be horrible for when they reach their 30s and 40s. Story 50. Electing incompetent imbeciles into power solely because they're men or of a particular political affiliation. Story 51. I think any aesthetic surgery people get, unless your nose is so big that you can't breathe or your eyelids drop so much it affects your vision space, do not get aesthetic surgeries. Most people with aesthetic surgeries do extremely trendy shoot, and they are so gonna regret it. Buccal fat removal, a tiny little nose, huge lips, etc. All these surgeries just make people look so average. I see a beautiful person with so much personality, and I'm like, this person would be so interesting to draw, which is a huge compliment. Then I see that they got an aesthetic surgery. Takes all the beauty away. Please stop, guys. Story 52. Installing all these invasive apps on their phones and giving insight to their behavior and private lives. Telling their doctors too much. Story 53. Social media. It is just a vector for propaganda for various activist groups and political parties and advertisements, with very, very, very little worthwhile content to keep me interested. Story 54. College athletes transferring to 4 to 5 schools, chasing the NIL money, and leaving college after 10 years with no degree and/or no professional contract. Story 55. Hopefully, people recording themselves in their car, ranting about something stupid. I have my doubts, though. Story 56. Using AI to replace outsourced basic skills, such as critical thinking, formulating basic human interactions, breakup texts being one, reading books for them, writing papers for school, etc. Story 57. A lot of current trends in plastic surgery and dental. You have to fully replace veneers after about 10 years. Implants shift and fillers migrate. Story 58. Jumping on the culture and identity wars bandwagon and defining themselves by with and flag, waving about a cause that actually means absolutely fudge all.